Feeling inspired by hosts Ron and Tyler to work on your health? The MovieBuffs podcast is brought to you by Time to Train Fitness, your home for on-demand workouts for every level of fitness. Exercise with amazing certified instructors that want you to push through any barriers. At Time to Train Fitness, you'll find quality workouts across 6 class formats, including indoor cycling, HIIT, bar, yoga, strength training, and dance cardio. Stream brand new classes releasing every week in our 450 plus on-demand workout library. Use the link in the description to view all of the membership options and to start a free 5-day trial. Get ready to press play on your next workout.
If you're anything like me, you absolutely hate making lunch. I mean, there's nothing worse on a busy day than being starving as hell and having to break out the pots and pans or, God forbid, drive through Burger King. That's why I use Icon Meals. They deliver straight to my door, healthy, macro-friendly, easy to track, easy to microwave meals that I can just throw in the microwave and go. They take 2 to 3 minutes. They are tasty and healthy, and there's a great variety. If you want to see what makes Icon Meals so convenient, follow the link in our description and use code SAVETIME at checkout for free shipping on any order over $130. Again, that's offer code SAVETIME at checkout for free shipping on anything over $130. Check out Icon Meals and stay buff with us. All right, time for the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to whatever this show is called these days. And everybody, welcome back, fellow fitness fans, aficionados, and freaks, to the latest episode of the MovieBuffs podcast, the strongest podcast in the world about movies, or at least the strongest one that features Tyler and I. Tyler, how's it going today, bud?
It's going well. I do like that you include the fitness fans in this because we don't really market it to any fitness people, and it's just a background in terms of our background of why we are called the MovieBuffs, but yeah, keep doing it, Ron.
It's just a differentiating factor, you know. And to all of our fitness buffs out there,
There we go.
You are in for a treat. This is our very first episode we've ever done in reverse. Are you going to answer that?
I can't. I was trying to think of the movie where Jim Carrey does reverse, and I couldn't think of it.
Was it Ace Ventura?
He does it in multiple movies, I think.
I know in Ace Ventura he does the instant replay.
That's it.
Anyway, how's it going, man? What are we up to this week? How are we doing for this week's episode?
What's kind of funny, I guess, is that so my wife is out of town, and I used to have like a mental list, and I was upset with myself that I didn't put it in my phone about movies that she didn't want to watch. That she's like, okay, you just watch them by yourself, because this is the weekend to do it, and I don't.
Tyler's list includes Showgirls, Hustlers.
I'm not a fan of Hustlers. I'm just going to throw this in there so that any fans that are listening that want to just, pound away on their keyboard on SoundCloud about us, that Hustlers, and especially that main actress, I'm just not a fan of. When there was a rumor about how she was holding out on the show that she was on, Fresh Off the Boat, and I think it suddenly ended the series. I didn't watch the series, but I just didn't like that she was holding out. So I don't like Hustlers, other than it not being a good movie.
I enjoyed the movie, but I can agree with what you said. From what I saw, I think I saw a tweet that she was like, "Oh, thank God that show got canceled." And people were like, "Hey, that's messed up. These are people's jobs." And she was like, kind of not only happy, but she kind of helped get it canceled, even though it was people's jobs. And like kind of a dick move.
Mm-hmm. She's lucky that Crazy Rich Asians was good.
Yeah, or else Tyler would have.
I'd send a mean tweet at her.
Need a six cats on her.
Technically 5 are mine. But anyways, how are you doing today, Ron?
Well, that doesn't mean they can't back you up. I'm doing well. I just slammed my first meal of the day, and it is 5:29 p.m. So if I have to leave abruptly, you'll all know why.
Got to get it. It's flowing right through you.
Yes, sir. I got 1,600 calories in the past 45 minutes. And I'd feel like it, but I knew if I didn't, I would be super low energy. So as my energy starts to kick up and before this food hits the bottom of my belly, Tyler, do we have anything to get us warmed up today?
Let's start it off with something kind of fun. Scrolling through Twitter. I'm not a big engager on Twitter in terms of tweeting, actually. But I was scrolling through and I saw a clip from a news channel flying over the Boba Fett set. And it just happened to be in a parking lot in Carson. I'm not 100% sure if it was the Dignity Health Center where the LA Galaxy play, but it was a parking lot and in Carson, and it looked like the set from the more recent episode. And what got me thinking about this for the episode today, with the techniques that they're using with The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, how they have those humongous moving screens. I think you actually know what they're called, but with those in place, do you think that on a larger scale, so Star Wars movie scale, do you think they would work for that?
I think so. And I can tell you who else does, and that would be Taika Waititi and Disney, because almost 90%, I think they said, of the latest Thor, Love and Thunder was filmed on the Expanse or the Vault or the Void, whatever the hell it's called.
Wow.
But they filmed it there, especially they kind of shifted to that, I heard, because of COVID restrictions. Like, okay, well, we can just sit still and make everything come to us.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that. I remember I watched the documentary, and when I say that I watched it and now I'm forgetting the name of it, just go with it. But I was watching
that one, huh?
The documentary for like The Mandalorian, how they made it, and I was just blown away. Really, I feel like that was a moment in my life. I was like, I think Jon Favreau is like my idol in life. Just his ability to go from directing, acting, and I recently watched The Replacement, so I would just always love seeing him in it. But then also he has got his cooking show, all things that I love. So that's besides the point. But just how they created these beautiful scenes, and to think that, no, they're just on a set.
Yeah,
and
they're just standing in front of big ass TVs with some rocks on the ground.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think. Comments that we've made about big scale movies, can they do them in this capacity so they don't have to fly to the Middle East to get that sand dune look anymore? They can just go on a set, a parking lot, and fill it, and all of a sudden they have a Star Wars set. So it makes you really think in that capacity.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It might even be able to bring the budget down on some of these movies. And with that budget, the necessary budget decreasing, you might be able to even see more like big swings, you know? I think one of the things that people complain about in film today is the homogeny of like everything kind of being samey and a little safe. Well, it's because you can't spend $200 million on like, say, West Side Story and it make $12 million or whatever. Golden Globe nominations or not. If you lose $190 million on a movie, it's not good business. So if you can produce them for cheaper, they can do kind of weirder, more out of the box stuff. And you might see some new like breakthrough stories and stuff. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Minus the last part. That was the point that I was poorly making. So thank you for finishing that off for me. I'm going to move to my next point here.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you. Let's talk about Jon Favreau. Do you like the movie Chef? I love that movie.
I own the movie Chef.
Dude,
technically, my wife owns it, but
we watch that movie like once a week. I love that movie.
I've even watched the show on Netflix, and I didn't go inside the restaurant, but I went outside of it, the one that's in Vegas. In the new,
nice.
MGM Park.
I want to go there. I forgot to go there last time I was in Vegas. One of the things that always kind of I take notice of in the Chef show is that even though Jon Favreau is worth close to $1 billion, right? Because he's an executive producer on a lot of the Marvel movies. He did Jungle Book. He did Lion King. He does all these things. Every time he goes in to learn from one of these chefs or work with them, he's always very deferential and very like, you know, it's stupid that it's such a surprise, but he's so cordial and nice to them. Like he doesn't have an attitude when they're like, no, you're doing this wrong. He doesn't, you know, it's cool to see that he seems like a normal, good person.
Yeah, agree. And his chef skills, like that's the part that I give him a lot of credit for in the show, is how when he's working with, I feel so bad that I'm blanking on the chef's name because I like his
Roy Choi.
There you go. I like his food truck. And I love his Korean fusion style, and how Chef Roy Choi would always try to say, hey, no, like, you know how to make this, you know how to cut that, like pushing him on screen to actually do it because he knows how, but he's kind of sometimes hesitant, but like he pushes him to that extra level to show off because it doesn't seem like Jon Favreau wants to.
Yeah. And it's sad how impressive it is that he's just a good guy about it.
Yeah.
And it's also a kind of a big deal that he airs the part where they're like, no, dude, you can do better and stuff. Like a lot of people that are that successful, their ego wouldn't allow them to be told off by, you know, anybody, let alone a guest on their show.
Yep. Well, I'm going to move to this next one to keep this vibe going. I know we're getting the humble train, but we're going to move to something that you and I love joking about. It involves our good old Uncle DJ, aka Dwayne Johnson, formerly known to many as The Rock. So according to Variety, Uncle DJ has publicly declined to be in F10. I'm trying to keep a serious face here with Vin Diesel. Are you surprised?
No, I think we discussed that the post that Vin Diesel posted was 1, incredibly condescending, 2, terribly put together, and 3, just borderline, like I'm at a loss for words to describe it. I should have had I should have had third thing. But so if we rewind time to when this post came out, the first line of the post said, "Little brother Dwayne." Now, The Rock is 3 inches taller. He is 2 or 3 years younger, but he is much larger. He is more famous and more wealthy than him. So to call another grown man your little brother, that's condescending.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the post, he's like, you owe this to Pablo, speaking in reference to the late Paul Walker. And then he said, my kids want to see you back in it. So it was just weird, like manipulative, condescending thing. And then the second part was the picture he used was a still from Fast Five where they're facing off. And in the movie still, if you look in like the wide angle, Vin's wearing a little bit of a lift because, you want to look eye to eye with your opponent in the movie, but he's still a little bit shorter in the movie still. Well, in the picture he posted, he has poorly photoshopped himself to be larger than The Rock, but with such a low quality image that the pixels are enormous. And then lastly, I circle back to it, The Rock kind of pointed out all that stuff. And he was like, yeah, he and I have had conversations like businessmen. And I told him I would not be returning. And I think it was rude and manipulative to bring up Paul and his kids. I think it's a bad thing to do, which is fair. People forget that it is a business, and I'm sure they have meetings about this stuff. You don't, I'm sure, Tyler, you're a business owner. You don't try to get in contracts with people by guilting them through Instagram, right?
Can't say that I've never done that route.
Well, you know what? That's why you don't drive a Dodge Challenger at a freaking submarine professionally, dumbass.
What am I thinking? It's seeing that they're on 10 now, and seeing that I actually watched F6 pretty recently because it was recently added to HBO Max. So I put it on just to be reminded of these movies and just to reminisce about how for a while they were good. But then all of a sudden they got too much. And the fact that they need Dwayne Johnson. They need The Rock for these. The Rock does not need this series at all.
Yeah, that being said, all the stuff he said, I definitely believe that's something he thinks. But let's cut to the bottom line here. The Rock is a very successful person. He knows what he's doing. If Fast 9 and Hobbs and Shaw would have made money like they were supposed to, doesn't matter what Vin Diesel did, he would have come back. Mm-hmm. Both those movies, F9 made money, sure, but the profit margins were low. I think it was the lowest grossing one in a while. Obviously, the pandemic affected that, but it was incredibly poorly received. The numbers are starting to dip, and then Hobbs and Shaw, it was decently received, but it didn't make the money that it didn't stay on par. So he's seeing the decline in critical and audience reception in this franchise, and he's like, I'm getting the hell out of here before it sinks. I sink with it, And I think that is the real point, which you're not going to say that to the public because you want to seem like, oh, it's blah, blah. But let's be real. If Hobbs and Shaw and F9 made $1 billion, he'd be in F10. Doesn't matter if they were freaking pissing in each other's lemonade the whole time on set.
The Rock has a good mix in terms of who he works with. Seems like he likes the people that he works with these days. You see them a lot in other movies, and that comedic aspect that he gets with, whether it's Kevin Hart or it's Ryan Reynolds these days, it really works. It really works on screen. That the movie might not be the best, but it's entertaining. I can't say the same with the majority of Vin Diesel movies that I've watched. And I say that because they're so painful to watch. But
you're telling me you didn't like when they drove a Pontiac Fiero into outer space?
I know that's one of your favorite parts, but not mine. Oh boy. Well, let's move on to some more news. And this one's kind of a question to hopefully make you think, share your insight into the future of streaming and streaming series that we're seeing more of these days. So the Marvel spinoff show featuring Echo from the Hawkeye series, they've added 2 writers from Punisher and the Daredevil series, respectively. So my question to you is, how much more of these characters that we saw in the Netflix MCU would you like to see integrated? And then secondly, are there any that you wouldn't want to see?
No offense to the guy, but anybody who saw Iron Fist knows that guy probably should be recast because the whole point is being a great fighter. And in the comic books, Iron Fist and Shang-Chi are supposed to be about on the same level of fighting skills. And if you put that guy against Simu Liu, he would get kicked out of 19 buildings at once. He would kick him from one building to the next one, and he would just wipe the street with his cheeks.
Yep.
I really like John Bernthal as the Punisher. Obviously, we all love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. The Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, they were okay. They kind of felt disconnected even from the Marvel TV universe. Even Iron Fist, I think they could all work, but there's a lot of that continuity that would need to be ignored because, the Dragon Bones under New York that nobody else heard about, kind of a deal breaker for me.
I do agree about Iron Fist. That's the one of the series that I didn't finish. I think I watched maybe a episode and a half, and I just couldn't. It was too bad for me. I was like, this is painful.
My brother and I watched it all in one day, and we were just laughing and we were watching it next to each other and texting our responses because his now wife was like, will you guys shut up? You're making me watch this and you won't stop talking.
Jessica Jones, I didn't watch it for, I don't even have a reason, but I just didn't watch it. I don't have a reason why. To this day, I don't. And I know that my wife liked it. And I just can't tell you.
I like Jessica Jones. Season 1 was really good. I didn't return for season 2. I think, honestly, once everybody came into the Defenders and it was not a good show, for me, it killed my enthusiasm. I was like, okay, because I put up with Iron Fist being bad, and Luke Cage was okay. It was kind of choppy. It had its ups and downs. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be all worth it when they come together for Defenders. And then when they did, and it wasn't very good, I was like, okay, well, I'm not watching the ones I don't care about. I didn't even watch season 2 of Punisher, and I really liked that show.
Oh,
I just couldn't be bothered. I watched all 3 seasons of Daredevil, and everything else kind of just.
Well, to finish that out, round it out, we're actually rewatching Daredevil right now, or I am. My wife didn't watch it. She is claiming that I watched it without her, whatever that means, and she therefore didn't want to watch it by herself. So we're taking the time to rewatch it, and I'm actually pretty pleased watching it again. That how well it's made. Acting is meh. I mean, other than Charlie Cox, it's kind of meh, but it's entertaining to watch, and that's probably why they made 3 seasons.
And I cannot confirm, but I think I saw Deborah Ann Wall at Chipotle one time. So she plays Karen Page. Couldn't tell if it was her or not, but I also couldn't tell if it wasn't her. Tyler, do you have any other news or rumors or anything for me before I go into mine?
That's all I got. Go ahead and roll on in.
All right. So I mentioned this earlier, but have you seen the promo images from Love and Thunder just came out?
I saw actually I don't know where they got it from, but my man Charlie on YouTube showed some like future Avengers image and Thor and Lady Thor, who I'm blanking on her name.
Jane Foster.
There we go, Jane Foster. They were in it, but no, I've not seen the images that you're referencing.
Well, that's the images I'm referencing. Did you see Thor's weird golden armor?
I did.
It is inspired by the battle armor from the comics, the Mighty Thor. It's wild looking. I hope he wears the helmet. I don't know why he's never really worn his helmet. Anybody who's familiar with Thor from the comic book, other than the Ultimate Thor, he wears his helmet all the damn time. I do like the beefier look for his arms. If anyone's seen the promo pictures that he's posted to his Instagram, his arms were they were sauced to the gills. Let's just say that, like a well-prepared fish. They were sauced to the gills.
Nice.
One of the interesting things I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but Jane Foster is holding Mjolnir, which not really surprised. But if you look, it's the fractured Mjolnir from Ragnarok. We thought it would maybe be a different timeline. So do you have any theories on how maybe it got put back together? Or
I can't say it's my theory, but because it's Charlie's theory, because I watched his breakdowns of these theories and all that kind of stuff, that Jane Foster is close to or near where I'm blanking on where that location is. I think they potentially have a statue or something of Mjolnir, and she becomes worthy of it and it assembles by some magic. I think that's what Charlie was saying, but I don't know. I try not to watch too many of these pre-movie breakdowns because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah,
it depends.
I learned
on
my lesson
movie,
on that recently too.
Like Spider-Man ones, I went back and forth with some of them, which ones I wanted to watch, but I try not to because I kind of want to be surprised on what the story's about. I'll read a little, but I really don't have any theory on it.
Yeah, at this point, if it's a movie I'm interested in, I try not to watch even trailers because, as fans and as comic book fans, and especially when you're deep in a universe, it's pretty easy to come up with some theories, and you come up with enough or you read enough, they're bound to be a couple right ones and you end up spoiling everything for yourself.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to follow along the same kind of story arc they did for Jane in the comic books, where she became Thor after Thor became unworthy. And that's a whole separate thing, but it was kind of just a mind trick that somebody pulled on him where he stopped believing himself worthy. But anyway, she became worthy. At the same time, she was battling terminal cancer. So essentially, anytime she wasn't in the Thor form, she was very rapidly dying. So she was pretty much unable to turn back into her regular self. I don't remember how that comic arc ended, but I think that might be an interesting turn to see maybe it'd be an out for Natalie Portman, who I know doesn't love being a part of the universe anyway, to give her this big, like something big to do finally, and then maybe have her relinquish the hammer and pass away at the end of the movie.
Wow. Very interesting insight there.
So that's just my little theory.
Give me the next one.
All right. So this is all one big piece of news. Batgirl has begun production. Have you seen any of this stuff about it?
I have not.
Okay. So there's mild spoilers for Batgirl, but if you're going to build a set in real life out on the streets, people are going to take pictures and they're going to end up on the internet. But the first thing, this is a big one. So if you don't want to hear it, skip forward about 4 minutes. We should be done with it. Don't yell at us in the comments. Just skip forward. So Michael Keaton has been confirmed to return for Batgirl. Now, we don't know if this is the same 1989 Batman that he's played originally, if this is the same Batman he's going to be playing in the Flash movie, if those two Batmen are going to be the same. So there's no telling, but he might not even be Batman in this. Who knows? That would be a bit of a trip there. But so how do you feel about Michael Keaton returning as Batman or not Batman in Batgirl?
This whole implementation of the multiverse into DCU, and one of the more recent breakdowns I was watching that involved the Flash and was talking about the multiverse within the DCU and potentially them already changing their name to the DC multiverse. I mean, it's interesting. I just don't think that they laid the groundwork for different Batmans coming in. I mean, it's exciting to hear about it. And
well, it will come out after the Flash. So I think the Flash is that groundwork, but we'll see how they pull it off.
Yeah, we'll see how they pull it off. But I mean, Marvel has been laying the groundwork, laying pipe for it for quite some time.
Yeah, they're laying pipe, boy. They are laying pipe and they are beating cheeks.
So, I mean, to think about it, I mean, Michael Keaton had, I feel like in like the last 10 years, had just like an amazing decade. Like people just loved that he was coming back, that he was finally back in the limelight. I feel like it was that movie that I didn't see, that
Birdman.
Yep. That I did not watch.
The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. That movie was phenomenal. And I think what that movie, maybe he didn't mean to make it a resurgence. I think he saw a good script and took it. But what really changed people's minds, as far as what I observed, was that on the press tour, people forgot, like, oh yeah, he started out as a comedian. So when he does interviews, he is incredibly charismatic. Like he gets everybody laughing. If he's the first guest or the second guest on a talk show, he's always the guy who sticks around to the end and will join the conversation. And everybody, like, they kind of defer to him because they're like, this guy can lead a conversation. He's a movie star, And I think people forgot that maybe in the early 2000s and mid 90s.
Oh yeah. I remember the backlash that in documentaries talking about Batman. I think they're more talking about it in the Superman documentary, the one that I know that a lot of people like to watch. That's on Showtime, but they talk about how Michael Keaton was a comedian. He's in a lot of comedies.
Yeah. I think he even did stand-up comedy for a while.
In which he's great. He's funny. And so they were mad about him being cast as Batman, but he blew it out of the water. But like all the letters that people wrote, and I just laugh. People probably feel like hand letters. People wrote hand letters back in the day. Yes. There wasn't email. There wasn't social media. But you just think about like these days, like when that happens, when somebody gets cast and like, oh, I don't like him. I'm gonna mad tweet at this person. Yo, you're not my XYZ character. But back in the day, you got to write that letter out. You got to make an outline. You got to make your introduction, all your threats in it. Make sure that your DNA doesn't get on the stamp, and then boom, send it off.
So what you're saying is the commitment to being a troll was a lot more true back in the day.
A lot more work.
Well, before we move, I haven't elaborate further on why I think he might not be the same Batman. And that's because there has been pictures taken on set of a mural of Batman and Robin that's in the Gotham that's going to be is going to be home to the Batgirl movie. And the Batman and Robin that are drawn out on this mural don't look anything like Michael Keaton, any of his bat suits. And as far as we know, he never had a Robin. So in my mind, maybe this is Michael Keaton's playing a different universe Batman. Maybe we'll see flashbacks of this Batman, or maybe it is a continuation of the Burton verse, and we'll see flashbacks to explain, okay, well, there was a Robin. So what the hell happened,
Interesting.
And another big confirmed person that's going to exist in this is Black Canary. On another, graffiti wall set up there is a poster for Black Canary featuring her iconic sound waves drawn on it. And now I actually have heard rumors that Journey Smollett from Birds of Prey will be returning as this Black Canary. So it's like, where the hell does this take place?
That'd be cool to see crossover characters that are in smaller movies crossing over to these new ones. I feel like that's one of the areas that we were kind of told, like, oh, there's no crossover between. We try to give our directors freedom to make their own independent movies, and to see some of that, I mean, as a fan, it's kind of nice. But I know that person. That person was in this. I mean, that's like when you're watching like Mandalorian these days. Like, there's that character from like certain cameos. Like, it's exciting.
You don't go into making comic book stuff without trying to connect it. That's what they are. That's part of what makes comics so fun. Is that at any time you might see a story with Superman hanging out with freaking, Jimmy Olsen, and they're just going on a milk run, and that's not a good crossover. Those guys hang out all the fucking time. Let's try this again. You might see something like Superman hanging out with Alfred and helping him clean the Batcave, and you're like, oh, who knew that would be a fun story? And sometimes it's those odd couples and mismatches that make the most fun stories. So it's always cool to see those in the movies. Another rumor I heard was that in The Flash, we saw that last year we saw the confirmation of Supergirl being in that movie. We saw, forget the actor's name, but she has darker hair, not necessarily the Kara Zor-El we're used to seeing. I've heard rumors that it is not Kara Zor-El, but the daughter of Zod.
Whoa.
Yeah, and there's rumor that Michael Shannon and Antje True will be returning to play Zod and Feora from Man of Steel, and that is their daughter.
Whoa.
Mind blown.
His neck got snapped. How's he coming back?
Tyler, his neck got snapped, okay? Nothing else got snapped. He can still have a kid.
I guess so. I don't know much about anatomy and physiology, so I can't make any jokes about it.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all the news I have. Do we have any trailers? I didn't watch any trailers.
I don't have any trailers. I haven't gone to the movies in a couple weeks, so let's move on to our test for Ronald. And
dude, I have been studying.
For this time, and not to give too much behind the scenes, of course, in a podcast, you do some prep. And I only gave Ron just a little bit because I want him to be prepared for our listeners. And it's not like we could edit it in because we can't. But we wanted to see, or I wanted to see, if Ron could name the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. All time. 10. So while I'm talking, I'm going to hit my timer right now because I'm going to give Ron 10 seconds. 10 seconds. You're ruining your 10 seconds by talking right now. You should be thinking right now.
Oh, shit ass. So
Ron's going to be thinking, mentally prepping, and what I'm going to do now is start the timer for 60 seconds.
Okay.
And I want to see how many Ron can name in 3, 2, 1, go.
Titanic.
Yes.
Avatar.
Yes.
Infinity War. Endgame.
Yes.
Spider-Man?
Which one?
1.
No.
Spider-Man 2.
No.
Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man No Way Home.
There you go. 5. That's 5.
Okay, well,
halfway there. Come on.
Showgirls.
I wish.
Striptease.
Demi didn't make the cut.
The Last Action Hero.
I actually watched that recently, but no.
Such a good movie. RoboCop.
No.
Robot Cop.
You got 20 seconds. No.
Dances with Wolves. There Will Be Blood. The Doorknob Chronicles. Donut Shop. Mickey and Minnie Go to Space.
You got 10 seconds. I know you can actually get the last 5.
Candles. Shoes. Milk. Paper. A ghost.
3, 2, 1.
Transmonster.
Okay. Some surprises where like you could have gotten these if you tried. And
I tried, dude.
Used your brain. Because you didn't get any of the Star Wars.
Oh, dude, I forgot about Star Wars.
Force Awakens, number 4.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Getting to 2 surprises here. Number 6 is Jurassic World. Number 7, The Lion King, 2019.
And we just talked about Johnny Favreau.
Correctamundo. Number 9, The Avengers. So the first one.
Dang. 3 Avengers movies on there?
Yeah. I've been waiting for this one actually for number 10 so that we can just shake our heads. Furious 7.
Whoa. Hey, to be fair, though, that movie was one of the good ones, and it's very sad. Hold on, before you go any further, should we sing that song that's dedicated to Pablo at the end?
Why don't we just pour one out for him? I'll pour a little bit of my water.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all I know when I see you again. Damn, Tyler, that was pretty good. I can't believe you just did that.
Just hitting those high notes. A couple of surprises on the rest of the list that for you to ponder. Before I say that, it's just, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this whole thing's Disney. All that they own. All that they own.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Frozen, Beauty and the Beast, Star Wars. I mean, Warner Brothers gets in there a couple times with Harry Potter, Black Panther, number 13.
Oh.
Frozen 2 is number 11, which is crazy. I didn't know that that movie did that well. But pretty interesting. I mean, Minions, number 22.
That's a good movie, though.
I've never seen that one.
Me neither, but I've seen a lot of memes.
But first, James Bond comes in at number 29.
Wow.
Yeah, well, looking to...
Is it because he didn't hang dong in that one?
Maybe. Looking into 2022, do you have any movies that you think could break into the top, I'll say 15?
Now, that's a big question because you're assuming I know what movies are coming out this year.
Seeing that was one of our previous skits, yes.
I think, okay, possible spoilers for Multiverse of Madness, but I don't have any inside information. But I think if Multiverse of Madness delivers on some of these cameos we've been hearing rumors about, I think people are going to flock to see that movie. One, people like Sam Raimi. They remember his first Spider-Mans. 1 and 2, people loved him, right? 2, MCU. It's coming right off the heels, directly connected to No Way Home, which is on this list, right? 3, it's probably the next big event movie in the Marvel Universe. And 4, spoiling some of those cameos, we've heard rumors of James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart being in that. We've heard rumors of maybe Hugh Jackman coming back to it. We've heard major rumors that maybe one Tobis Maguire's will be a big player in that movie, which is why and how they got Sam Raimi and vice versa. So those are just rumors that I might have made up. Who knows? But I think if any of those kind of things come to fruition and it's the spectacle that we're all kind of expecting, I think that could do some major buku bucks.
Good insight right there. I didn't expect that one with Doctor Strange. Didn't.
And I think the first Doctor Strange is kind of a forgotten, I wouldn't say gem, but it's a pretty solid movie there in the middle of the MCU.
I like it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, it's fun. Everybody loves Benedict Cumberbatch. Pretty much no one ever has anything bad to say about him or his acting. Like, he's a solid actor. And I think this is the one that's going to come together big for them as far as that series.
Interesting.
And then anything non-Disney owned, I don't think so. I don't think there is a chance. And this I'm going to put a little tag on it. That is going to relate to my WTF moment a little bit later in the podcast, right after our main set during our cooldown.
Just putting some ideas out there. 13 is Black Panther. We have Black Panther 2 coming out. We have... what was the other one that I was just looking at on here? We have another Aquaman coming out.
Aquaman 1 was pretty big.
Aquaman number 1 is number 24.
I think Aquaman might be hit or miss because that's the problem with the DC universe is that some of the movies that should be huge don't hit like they're supposed to because people have this kind of aversion to it because from one movie to the next, the quality will change so rapidly. The tone will be different. The characters might not be the same version of themselves they were in the last movie. This one might suck ass. So I think the turnout for those movies tend to ebb and flow. As far as my prediction for Black Panther 2, I think that kind of depends on how heavy are people's hearts going to be from the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I know personally, like I don't know if there's anything for me in that movie. I just will be thinking about this, kind of great guy that passed away on us. Obviously we'll see it, but I think that might in the larger sphere of the public consciousness, that might change the turnout for that movie, or people might go see it in response to missing this guy and then it'll blow it up even further.
Okay. I think that's actually a good segue into our main set, talking about characters changing from one movie to the next. Why don't you lead us into it?
All right, everybody. Hope you're back. I hope you didn't watch the wrong one because today we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad. Tyler, before I get any further into this, which one's the wrong one?
Suicide Squad is the wrong one. The right one is The Suicide Squad.
Well, which one has Jim Carrey in it?
I'm actually not sure if any of them have Jim Carrey in it.
I think I watched Ace Ventura. Fuck! So this week we're going to be reviewing James Gunn's The Suicide Squad in honor of the start of the Peacemaker series, which we'll be covering later this year when it completes. So this movie is a loose sequel to the 2016 David Ayer picture Suicide Squad. I can't remember which one's the... It's very loose. Some of the characters are returning. We don't know if they're the same ones, like we talked about before. Unfortunately, this movie didn't hit big at the box office like it probably should have, not to spoil my recommendation, because people didn't like the whatever movies came out before it. But it features a giant cast. It features an R rating. It features some James Gunniness. And that's all I'm going to say as far as this little preamble. Tyler, do you want to get into some of the cast?
Yeah, before I jump into that, it's important to kind of talk how Gunn got that role with the controversy involving him leaving Guardians 3, coming over to DC, and basically having the pick of the litter, we'll call it, of what he wanted to do. And for him to go the Suicide Squad, I remember I kind of scratched my head and was thinking, really? Like that? You want to follow up that piece of, you know what, in the corner over there?
It does seem like an odd choice, but I've heard him in interviews even say that the reason he picked it was because he was able to do what he did here, which have access to dozens of characters and use a lot of, he wanted to do stuff with characters that people didn't necessarily have an idea about before. So he can do whatever he wanted with them.
Yeah.
And again, not to spoil my recommendo, I think it paid off.
Well, the controversy with a tweet that he came out, apologized about several times, and having seen and read the tweet, poor taste. I'm glad that he owned up to it. I am glad that he is still making movies, to be honest. And with this cast that he's assembled for it, we do get some of the original cast. Some of it, it's not, I don't want to say when they disappear in the movie, but we do get new players into it. But we got Margot Robbie as everyone's favorite Harley Quinn. Idris Elba, a new one. There was big, I can't say controversy, but there was question marks about, was he going to be replacing Will Smith? Was he almost Deathstroke? Little things that you're like, who is he in this? Well, who is he going to be? Is he just a swap? Because I remember in our old episodes of talking about the Suicide Squad that I felt like Will Smith's character was the easiest one to create a spinoff. They easily could have taken him. He's a Hollywood big-time actor and made a whole movie out of him.
Yeah.
These days, he probably would have got a whole series, whole 6 episodes out of it.
I still think they should.
They didn't do that back then. Still can because of who he is. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back into the fold. There's John Cena in it. His spinoff.
His name is John Cena.
Joel Kinnaman returns. Michael Rooker, of course, a James Gunn favorite, is in it for, I'm just going to say he's in it for like 5 minutes. Viola Davis is in it. But a whole bunch of other just people that they just assembled that you're like, holy crap, there's so many people in this. And I could literally just go down the list, and I'm not going to because I don't really think it's pertinent. So let's move to the premise of the movie.
I think in spoilers, Tyler should bring up a list of all the actors in the movie, and I'll make fart noises to tell you if they died or not. Wink. So the premise, we all know it. If you saw one Suicide Squad, you've seen them all. The supervillains consisting of, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Pizza Maker, Peacemaker, aka
John Cena.
And a collection of other, random and nutty characters are brought together on Task Force X to covertly infiltrate the island nation of Corto Maltese to take care of some high-level assets. And they don't find out much further information until later in the movie, and neither do we, so I won't give that away just yet. This movie does an excellent job of really, really utilizing its premise to the truest extent, in that there are a lot more casualties on this suicide mission than there was in the original. Now, Tyler, do you have a spoiler-free review to give to me?
Leading up to it, and I kind of hinted at this already, that like my fear was, okay, is this a reboot? It's not a reboot, non-sequel. So what is it going to be? And I think with watching it. All you have to do is go 5 minutes in and you're like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a fun ride. And I think that is set pretty quickly. But what I like is that it kind of just gives the finger to the serious tone of the first one, like literally just straight up just giving it the finger. And you see it within the first couple minutes of the movie in Amanda Waller's face. Anytime that they showed her like that serious tone, it was there, but it's just great to see, I feel like. And that I know that a lot of DC fans, they love the grittiness, the darkness, and they want all of the movies to be like that. But it's entertainment. It's entertaining, and you get it from the beginning. Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah, it definitely does an immediate job of establishing itself as a different movie altogether than the last one.
Yeah.
And I think that the tone thing is something that I said earlier that DC maybe has a problem with. They try to match every character to the tone they've already decided instead of finding a character, letting the story grow out of the character, and letting the tone come as a byproduct of the character and the story.
Yeah.
And that's how you get a movie like this, that all of those things, they make sense together. And, you know, even when they're all dying, some of them are still making jokes because Harley Quinn is like, you know, is clinically insane. She's not in tune with reality. And we even see some things from her perspective as to how detached from reality she is, you know? And then we have some people that have just done it so often that it's funny to them.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, you know, just out of nowhere, some guy's telling jokes for no reason. Like it all makes sense. There are characters who were just scared shitless of, oh my God, our heads are blowing off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think it did a great job of matching tone, character, and story.
Yeah. One of the pieces that I got to give, I know I already mentioned her, but I got to give my wife her weekly shout out in the movie. And the reason why she was excited, which is very evident from the get-go, is the music. She likes how Gunn intertwines music with the movies, with Marvel movies. Guardians are her favorite ones. And the action, the story, the comedy, the music, it all blends together that you get something that, you know, that's James Gunn, and you know it's fun. And it's entertaining to watch. And there's many times that it's not just the typical DC where everything's slow-mo, so dark you can't see. And I know that was something that I did want to bring up in the podcast, that I know probably the hardcores were mad about it. Oh, he's just Disneying it up. He's Marveling it up, and why they don't like a lot of the Marvel content that's coming out. But I always think, don't you want more movies coming out? Don't you want more content with these unknown characters? Which I think goes with the beginning of it, with they're assembling a cast and you're like, who the hell is Polka Dot Man? And
who, by the way, steals the show.
He steals it many times. And you're worried about Gunn. Like, okay, what's going on? Or are they just going to Warner Bros. The crap out of this and just mess up the edit? And all of a sudden we're all going to be wishing for, I want the James Gunn cut. Come on, give it to me. But it's just nonstop fun.
Yeah. And I think we can unequivocally say we got the James Gunn cut of this movie.
Yeah, we got it. We got it hard.
All right. So now that Tyler's gotten hard, do you want to go into spoilers?
Hit the spoilers.
Spoilers. That was a new one.
That was cool.
So, spoiler alert, one of the coolest things that happens, like Tyler said, right off the bat, it separates itself from Suicide Squad 2016 by just killing everybody. The first person we see die is Pete Davidson, which I think a lot of people were happy about. People
Very
don't
happy.
tend to like that guy. He gets just blasted in the face and his head is blown completely asunder, and it lingers on it for just long enough for you to go, okay, they're not killing people like out of the corner of our eyes. They're not going to shoot them and they just fall down. We're going to see some ultra violence. And then we have some surprise deaths, like Jai Courtney returns as Captain Boomerang, only to be first impaled by a bunch of exploding wood. And you're like, okay, he can survive that. Then he gets hit by helicopter blades and then he explodes. And you're like, okay, I think he's dead.
He's not coming back from that.
He's not coming back. And you have a bunch of, people that they show a bunch of these characters in the promo. If you've watched the trailers, it shows them all like in their lineup walking in front of the American flag, and all of them die. And it's a shock, but it's a great way, like Tyler said, to kick off the movie and go, okay, well, F the old one. This is what we're doing now. And I agree. I had fun from start to finish. What about you, Tyler?
Along those same lines that I know that we actually texted about because we weren't doing the podcast at the time. It was with Bloodsport compared to Deadshot. And Idris Elba, his character, they kind of start with him with building the squad, I'll call it. And the first couple scenes with him, all of a sudden they start talking about his daughter, and like, oh, not the same storyline.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna do it to save his daughter, blah, blah, blah. But all of a sudden they just literally just start yelling at each other from across the glass, and they're just going at it, dropping F-bombs, and you're just like, okay, maybe it's not the same character as Will Smith's Deadshot.
Like this guy might not care for anybody, but he doesn't want his daughter to die in prison. And that it's not even out of love. It's just, I don't want her to die in prison. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he's like one of those characters I told you where it makes sense why he'd be kind of flippant about everybody else dying. He's like, this is what I do. I don't care. I'm going to protect myself. I'll be fine. And that's all he cares about. So like, it makes sense. Whereas in the other one, it didn't even make sense why they got that squad together, because they were like, hey, who can beat up Superman? This guy with a gun, that girl with a baseball bat. The other thing I really liked, speaking of bad guys and who they're fighting, I loved the reveal of Starro. Starro, if anybody is familiar, is the antagonist for whom the Justice League originally formed in the comic books. So it was cool to see them take on this giant mind-sucking kaiju monster. It was a really fun little battle.
Yeah. I'm going to keep on with the character train that you see, and the development of characters, like the character arc you just spoke about with Alba's character. You see that from being very selfish and eventually caring about people at the end. But one of the things that came to me about halfway through the movie, and I rewatched it recently, was that the movie does not depend on Harley Quinn. Like it does not need her. And she actually disappears for quite a while. You see her in the beginning, and then you don't see her till after 40 minutes. I made sure to pause the movie to see when it was, and you're like, wait, what? Like, how is she not? Like, that's what every little girl dresses up as for Halloween. Like, why wasn't she in it? And it's good that's why James Gunn was the director. Why he was picked to be the director is he can build out a team that nobody's taking the spotlight away. That all these characters are there. You get to know them. You get to see what their powers are, and you get enough of it. And he's introducing all of the majority of them, that it's just fascinating to watch. That it's just not Harley Quinn running around making jokes and being Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it's not the Harley Quinn show. And speaking of shows, the ability with which he displays to introduce all these characters helped DC out tremendously, because now, like we said, they have a Peacemaker show coming out, a character who nobody knew or gave a shit about until this movie. And again, he also steals the show. Every single one of these characters that is in the movie for more than 5 minutes has these amazing standout moments where you can go, that guy stole the show. And then the next thing happens, like, but it was kind of Polka Dot Man was the best. And then Rick Flag does something cool. You're like, Rick Flag was pretty badass. And then even Harley has a lot of great scenes, and King Shark, and everybody but Weasel.
It's funny about when we'll talk about it in a bit, like favorite scenes. But for a second, I almost thought with Polka Dot Man, when he's dancing and they go to a club and he's dancing in it, and what's kind of funny is that I've been listening to that song from that scene like all week, and but he steals that scene right there. Just how it's filmed with the flashbacks to his mom. That's the person that torments him, and he sees her everywhere, and he wants to kill her, but he just steals that part. And it's just funny, like the way that he's built up to it. It's a pretty good balance.
And then another character that stole the show in a different way was, I think her name is Daniela Malcor, the actor who played Ratcatcher 2. To have her, she was the emotional thread. We didn't see this super villain who controls rats being the emotional core of the story. And she was kind of the surrogate for Bloodsport's daughter that changes his mind about wanting to protect everybody. And it was also a cool Taika Waititi cameo to play her dad.
It was. King Shark. I probably should have threw this name in the beginning because of who it's Sylvester Stallone who's voicing.
Oh yeah,
it.
Dude.
And just how he's introduced. He's reading a freaking book upside down, and it's hilarious. And he plays that throughout the whole movie. Just this dumb shark that wants to be smart, wants to have friends, and all his one-liners they all hit, which is
they
great.
Were hilarious. And I love that he was invincible. Like he gets shot hundreds of times. He gets buildings landed on him. He gets thrown across the city, and he just walks back all dumb in his little shorts. And I thought it was, I agree. He was hilarious.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene with him was when they're packing up that van that they're in, and he wants to wear a disguise, and his disguise is a fake mustache, but it's his finger, and John Cena is like, "That's the worst fake mustache I've ever seen." And it just all hits.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of talking about our favorite scenes now. I thought that the killing competition between Bloodsport and John Cena was also really fun, and it was a cool action scene. And then to have it turn that it showed that they are still bad guys because they kill all these people they murdered brutally in a competition. We're all good guys.
Is that your favorite scene?
It's one of my favorite scenes. It was definitely up there.
But what I really like, you can't steal mine.
What I really like though is that, at first you think Peacemaker is just this zany, like kind of how Bloodsport is, where he's just doing it, whatever. And then you realize like, oh, all those things he was saying is like, I'll hit your bullet more, dead center. He's not joking. Like he's actually out of his mind. And like where Bloodsport says things to mess with people in a joke, Peacemaker is 100% serious. And in his mind, he has to kill everybody. And he like on second watch, like, oh man, this is like almost his insanity and his like comedy is almost scary on a second watch because you know what his intention is. And spoiler, he murders Rick Flag, and he's like, you're a hero to me, but sorry, I got to kill you. And you're like, wow, okay, so all that other crap he was saying was like legitimate threats now. Like he'll kill men, women, and children for peace. You're like, oh, that's not as funny second time around.
Well, going back to that is my favorite scene in the movie. It just the back and forth, the banter, the killing competition, and the fact that these freedom fighters are the good guys, and all of a sudden they show up in this little hut, and like, what happened to all my men? And they all killed them, and just the way that they did it, it just plays into their characters so well that it's entertaining. It's fun to see them use. I guess it's not really powers; they're just assassins.
Their skills, abilities.
Their skills, yeah. It's fun to watch, and I mean, it sets it up for the future fights that they have as well.
Yeah, it was a cool setup. Tyler, I'm sorry, I forgot. Who plays Peacemaker again?
And his name is John Cena!
Nice, dude. Where's that coming from?
If people really want to know how much I like that song, it's one of my favorites on Spotify. No biggie.
Tyler listens to the John Cena intro song in his downtime.
It's in my competition playlist, if anybody wants to know.
And he calls me a nerd.
I think that's actually cool in reality.
I think one of my favorite scene in the movie, and you might disagree, but I got to say, like, you want to go out with a bang. And I think James Bond hanging dong was one way to do it. I really enjoyed the shower scene. I know in the past, some people have said that it was overly long, but I thought it was just right. What? Do you recommend this film?
Yeah, I recommend it, one, because you can watch it for free on HBO Max.
Oh, well, technically it's not free because you got to pay for HBO Max.
I guess. Well, that's all I watch is Supremes, like I mentioned. But it's funny, entertaining. It is rated R, so don't watch it with your kids.
Do not.
Definitely worth a rewatch. But before we get to yours, I want to hear your favorite character.
Oh, my favorite character. I gotta say Polka Dot Man. I was really sad to see him go at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Dave Dastmalchian. David Dastmalchian should have his own cinematic universe. He's in Dune. He's in Gotham. He's in The Flash. He's in this movie. He's in Ant-Man.
He's in Prisoners.
He's apparently in, he's in Prisoners. This guy isn't. He's in Dark Knight. He's in every freaking thing, and he's always good. I think he looks perfect to play a Joker one day. I mean, he's already played every other villain in the DC universe. I thought he really brought it. He had a good balance of like, for a little bit, you forgot that, oh yeah, this guy kills people and killed his mom.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I feel so bad for him. Like, you just want him to be a hero. And then after he gets crushed to death by Starro, spoiler alert, you're like, wait a second. He was in prison for killing all those innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes you forget that, and he makes you like him. So that was my favorite character.
I dig it.
And then for my recommendation, I kind of said it over and over again. I agree with Tyler. Absolutely go watch it. Check it out. Unfortunately, it's only on TV. So you can't watch it on the big screen because I saw it in theaters, and I think it was a very fun theater movie, especially that big Starro fight scene at the end. It is benefited by having a large projector to play it.
Okay.
But that's my recommendation. So before we get out of this main set into our cool down with the WTF moment, I want to take a second to let everybody know that next week we're dropping a first episode in our new series called Back Day. So I got to hit it here while we're in the middle of the workout. So Back Day, let's call that for two reasons. One, it's going to be a throwback movie that has no connection to any IP or any, upcoming projects coming out. It's just a movie that one of us two movie buffs like. And the second reason it's called Back Day is because like any fitness freak aficionado and fanatic knows, on Back Day, you don't need no spot. So it's only going to be one of us movie buffs on episode 1 of Back Day. It's going to be me talking about one of my favorite movies of all time. And I hope you check it out. It's coming out next week. All right.
Emphasis on the one movie buff liking the movie. Emphasis on that. Anyways.
And emphasis on the other movie buff being wrong.
There's a great main set today.
That was one of those movies that I feel like we could have talked about for like 2 hours, but then I'd have to edit it. So let's not.
Yeah.
But I love that movie.
Well, let's start to cool it down and get to our WTF moment of the week.
Okay. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Well, I feel like Tyler a bit today because I'm going to be talking about a clickbait article I saw.
Yes.
So I saw this clickbait article on Instagram, and it was a picture of Ben Affleck taking a weird selfie, like, the old man angle up his nose. And it's half that and then half a picture of Spider-Man in the Iron Spider suit. And the headline that's on the picture says, Ben Affleck takes shots at Marvel movies, right?
Okay.
And then you slide over one picture and it says, quote, movies and theaters are going to become more expensive, eventized, and mostly, hey, I'm so into the Marvel universe. I can't wait to see what happens next. There'll be 40 movies a year theatrically, and they'll all be IPs, sequels, and animated. So they listed that as he's taking shots at the Marvel universe. First of all, that's not what he said, even in that truncated quote. But in the longer one, he said, I think smaller movies will do better to go to streaming because younger people aren't as incentivized to go to movies unless it's something that needs to be on the big movie. And then he said the rest, which I think isn't a shot. It's just a true statement. Like, say a movie that I think we both really liked growing up that came out when we were like in high school, Knocked Up, right? If you could watch Knocked Up for free at home right now and have all your friends over and just do it for free, or you had to go pay $17 each and go to the movie theater, what would you do?
This is tough because I want to agree with you
as a teenager.
But like as a teenager, like my friends and I would do the latter. So like I want you to prove your point, but
well, let's think about
a corner.
Let's think about the average person who maybe didn't grow up where Tyler grew up. But you think about it, the average moviegoer, it's not somebody like us who loves the movies and loves going to the movies. Mm-hmm. But you think about it like, okay, we want to check out, say, The Last Duel. Are you going to go pay to watch that movie? Or are you just going to watch this gray, sad movie in your living room when your wife's asleep?
We didn't even want to watch it this weekend. Rented for $4.99. So it would have to be at home when it's free on FX.
Exactly. And I think for most people, that is what it is. Unless there's something about the movie that inherently is better on the big screen, there's not really a reason for people to go out, especially with, Tyler talked about this a couple weeks ago, people hacking up lungs and, contaminating movie theater. There is a health risk involved now besides the monetary commitment.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to say that is taking a shot at the Marvel universe because it's just how movies work. We talked about it before. There's no reason to make a $200 million investment if you don't think you're getting the money back. And we've seen in the pandemic, the only things that are making money are F9, Spider-Man. It's not The Last Duel. It's not making any money. Even Steven Spielberg couldn't make any money off his latest film. And by all accounts, it's a great movie, but it lost $100 million.
And that's not the demo that we're talking about even. That's an older demo.
Exactly. And those people definitely aren't flooding out to the movie theater because the older your demographic, the more health concern you have, especially in times like this. So that was my WTF moment. It's just weird that how people extrapolate things and try to sensationalize it when literally that's like saying the housing market sucks right now. It's like, oh, Tyler Valencia takes a shot at the U.S. economy and thinks it's garbage. Like, oh, well, I just said houses are expensive.
Whoa there. Well, I do quickly want to comment on with movies, and we are different, that we still like the movie experience. That was primarily why I started going back to movies a few months ago, was that I wanted to see Shang-Chi in a theater. I wanted to get that experience in the Dolby Cinema, which Ron loves to make fun of me for, with the popcorn that I love, with my my snacks that I sneak in. I wanted my experience in the movie theater. And I would say that I guess we are the minority in that aspect. And I remember my favorite director talking about that with the death of the cinema and just that experience of sitting in it. And I think I was texting with one of my friends about this, about being in the cinema, movies on the big screen. And I guess I see it more with you mentioning it now. I do see that argument. I agree that the clickbait is not fun, and you're pointing out an obvious with it, but it's, I guess I'm wondering, as myself being a business owner, how I guess I don't understand enough how streaming platforms make enough money to accommodate larger scale movies. We can see smaller ones, but they're still millions of dollars. But go ahead.
I don't think they do make enough money, because I know that Netflix is still worth negative amount of money by a lot.
Wow. Okay.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, speaking of us being in like rarefied type of person that wants to go to movies, even in your own household, does your wife get stoked to go to movies, or does she go because you kind of ask her to go and maybe say, "Hey, we could do this, it'll be fun"? Is it ever her idea, or does she go to support you?
No, she enjoys it. That's one of the things that
That's a lie.
that we bond on, is that we enjoy movies. I mean, that might not be the movie that she was like dying to see all the time, but when we first started dating, that's always been part of kind of our routine and stuff that we like. You know, we enjoy going out to dinner before, then going to the movie, getting the snacks and the experience of it. But she's definitely a trooper in terms of all the movies that she watches that aren't typically in her genre, but she likes to learn about them too at the same time. Like, she listens to another movie podcast.
Wait, what? There's other movie podcasts?
That she listens to those. She likes the Charlie breakdowns that I watch. So she does have similar tastes. I mean, she definitely has learned a lot more about comic book movies, but I think she knows a lot more than the average fan.
Okay. Yeah. I know for us too, we do like to see movies together, but my wife is never excited to go. Except for, those big tentpole ones where she's like, okay, this needs to be seen. But there's been a couple movies. One that jumps out is the Anthony Bourdain documentary. I did trick her. I didn't tell her it was available on Amazon, and we went to the theater to go see it. And I'm like, oh, that was fun. She's like, yeah, I'm glad we went to see it. And then we got home and she was like Googling something about it. She's like, you bastard, we could have watched it at home. I'm like, yeah, but we already have our AMC passes. And I like that documentary, if anyone's wondering, but it definitely is not a theater experience. It's just a documentary.
Well, one random question. When was the last time that you saw a movie by yourself?
Oh, let me check through my AMC app. Tyler, can you give me some look-in music?
Well, I'll just keep talking while you're looking.
Got it.
That's one of the things that I've rarely done. And I remember pre-pandemic, I was more, not really worried, but I remember I feel like it was the first movie I saw by myself, and I just had to go. My wife was out of the country, and I had to go. And it was The Dark Knight. And I'll also rarely see a movie twice. And I saw that one twice in the theaters. But I remember going by myself, and I remember being worried. This is before you could reserve seats. So like I think I got like an aisle seat, because I didn't want people like, who's this like weirdo like sitting by himself?
Should have sat in the back in the corner like I do.
Well, it was well worth it.
Whatever. Okay, so the last time I saw a movie alone was very recently. I went to go see Dune alone in November. I went to go see Venom alone in October. I went to go see Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard and Black Widow alone in July. And that's as far back as my thing's letting me look. So I see movies alone quite a bit. I currently live in close proximity to an AMC. So, if I don't have a lot of office work or I don't have any appointments that day, sometimes I'll spend my morning getting a free icy, getting a little bit of a sugar rush, and watching a crappy ass movie. Venom. I saw F9 alone, and Pontiac Fiero sent Tyler videos of it while I was watching it.
I got to make sure that we add in that this is not a shot at Ron's wife for not seeing these poor movies with her.
No, that's if anything, it's a testament to her indomitable will, because I cannot convince her to go do anything she doesn't want to do. She'll just staunchly say no and then ask me to not tell her how it went. She's like, you can go see that shitty movie. Don't tell me about it.
Just keeps living her life. Well, that's
free of any knowledge of F9.
I don't think anybody wants to know about F9, but that's a good segue to our post-workout takeaways as we continue to cool down this podcast episode and get to the part of the show where we share a little bit of advice about fitness, since this is a fitness semi-related podcast. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to know, if you are a first-time listener, Ron and I both work in the fitness industry. We're not in Hollywood. We are not. Or actually, Ron is kind of in Hollywood. And so I got to make sure to put that in there. But Ron, share a little insight about working out for 2022.
So 2022, it's January. January is actually coming to an end somehow. It's gone by quite quickly. And I want to talk to people about patience, right? Everyone uses the new year, new me, start my resolutions, get fit, get jacked, get tan, this and that. And then it's 2-3 weeks in, nothing's changed. People start to quit. Well, hopefully you hear this message and you remember patience. You got to make a plan, trust the plan, give it time to work. If you went to the doctor and they prescribed you a medication, you got to take it every day, right? You got to take it every day for weeks, for months, for years, maybe, to see the actual effect of the medication. So treat your diet and exercise regimen the same way. You got to give it at least, I always say, give something at least 6 to 8 weeks of a actual planned diet and workout model to even decide if it's achieving results, because our bodies don't change quickly. So give yourself patience and be gentle and be kind with yourselves, and hope everyone has a lovely 2022.
Very nice. Very peaceful. I like it.
This is 2022, Ron. I'm enthusiastic. I am optimistic, and I'm charged up. What about you, Tyler? Do you have any workout takeaways for us?
My closing thought is on the use of technology for working out. I will say that using technology as motivation can be very beneficial. I will say that I've seen and I've changed a little bit on my perspective on using smartwatches, smart devices while you work out. I think that really the question involves your budget for one, because there's really a price for anybody out there. You don't have to get the nicest one out there, but if you do want to, build up to it. Potentially buy one a little cheaper, use your motivation to continually grow with it. And by that time where all of a sudden you're 6 weeks, 7 weeks in with this one that's a little cheaper, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was great motivation for me. Reward yourself with that smartwatch that you wanted, that more expensive one.
Yeah, I like that takeaway. Yeah, it's always important to have a little bit of accountability. And if technology is the way you do it, then that's awesome. Is that all we got for this week, Tyler?
That's all we got.
All right. So thank you so much to every single one of you that is listening. Don't yell at us in the comments, or Tyler will hit you with an axe. We appreciate your patronage. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Join us next week when I actually will promo what we're doing next week. Join us next week when I start the new series Back Day, and I take a look at one of my favorite films of all time. Tune in to find out what that is. Please leave us a 5-star review on your platform of choice. It really helps the show. And leave a comment and say something nice. Or Tyler will break out that aforementioned axe. All right, Tyler, thanks for your time, man. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Bye. Stay buff.